This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Right, so let's change the heavyweight news to some middleweight news. And let's get out of that one just for a few minutes. So, Daniel Jacobs and Saul CANELO ALVAREZ have been doing their tour to hype up their fight on May the 4th in Las Vegas, Nevada for the IBF, WBC and WBA middleweight world titles. And it's a very, very interesting fight. Now, of course, this is not only Canelo versus Jacobs, this is Goldenboy versus Matchroom, being that Canelo is part of Goldenboy and Daniel Jacobs is part of Matchroom. Okay, Eddie Hearn versus Oscar De La Hoya as well. Obviously, these guys are collaborating for DAZN as well. So there's a lot of interest in this fight, and it's going to be a huge, huge, huge fight, that is for sure. And I was quite surprised, to be honest with you, when these guys had their face-off as to how much bigger Daniel Jacobs was compared to Canelo. I'm talking height. Now, ultimately, on the night, these guys will weigh there or thereabouts the same anyway, because of the IBF being on the line. So, in other words, these guys will have the morning weigh-in as well as the day before weigh-in as well. Well, I'm presuming that they're still going to have that in operation anyway. But this is a very, very interesting fight. Now, for those of you who are going to go to this fight, by the way, just before I forget, so if anybody is literally going to go to Las Vegas to watch this fight live, on the very same day in the morning, you guys can go to the Box Fan Expo, as you can see on the screen right there. And in the description box of this video and all videos as well, there's an affiliate link where you guys can get tickets to go meet the boxing stars of the past and present. Go get autographs, have a chat with them, take pictures, all that kind of thing. So go check that out if you're going to watch them live. Now, as far as this fight goes, it's a very, very exciting one. And if you were to base it on form, you'd really have to edge it with Saul CANELO ALVAREZ. Of course, he's had those two fights with Triple G. Controversial decisions, for sure. But especially in the second fight, in the rematch, Canelo did something that most people didn't think he was going to do, which was meet Triple G in the middle of the ring and go toe-to-toe with him. So he's shown another side of his game when he's facing a big, big puncher. And Daniel Jacobs is a pretty reasonable big puncher. Now, Jacobs, he's only got 2 losses on his record. Obviously, the last one was, of course, against Triple G, where he did get dropped. And again, some people believe that Daniel Jacobs won that fight, of course. But his first loss did come against Pirog way back when. And since then, of course, he got diagnosed with cancer in his spine, was it? Or in his back or something, where he was told that he'd never walk and certainly never fight again. And here he is in this position, hence the reason, the miracle man, Daniel Jacobs. So Daniel Jacobs has no fear of Saul CANELO ALVAREZ. If anything, it's Daniel Jacobs that's been pushing for this fight for quite some time. And I know that Canelo is giving it the I'm going to fight him and beat him for Mexico kind of speech as well. So he's got it in his heart as well that he must win at all costs. And last time out for Canelo, he did walk through Rocky Fielding and became the WBA regular super middleweight champion, which I believe he's now vacated or they've took it off him. I'm not entirely sure of that. Maybe he's still got it. I'm not too clued up on that bit, to be honest with you. But this fight is an interesting one. But as I said, if you were to base it on form, Canelo is the one that's really in form. Now, I know Dan Jacobs has been winning. Of course, he's won the IBF world title against his stablemate in Sergey Devrochenko. And he's got a couple of good wins on his resume as well recently. He is still advised by Al Heyman as well, for those of you who don't know, even though he is with Matchroom and he fights predominantly on DAZN. But his last couple of fights, in my opinion, Devrochenko, he looked good. But a couple of fights beforehand, not so much. He almost seemed to struggle at times. I don't quite know what it is. I'm starting to think that Daniel Jacobs is the kind of fighter nowadays that will only really put on a good performance when he's in with a threat. I don't think that Daniel Jacobs really considered any of his previous opponents really big threats. So he didn't really turn it on. He just did enough to get the win. Okay, but against Canelo, I expect him to put on a performance much like he did with Triple G. In other words, just go for it. Stand with him toe-to-toe at times. Now, I do expect Daniel Jacobs to be the one on the back foot in this fight and try and counterpunch Canelo. But Canelo is very, very good at counterpunching himself and a very, very good body puncher. And his timing is terrific. It really is. And I know a lot of people are still pointing the stick about the whole PED thing with Canelo. But I think for the most part, I think people have pretty much moved on from that now and have confidence that he is part of the 24/7 WBC VADA enrollment, so the clean boxing program as well. So I don't think there's going to be any kind of issues with that. But stylistically, it's a very interesting fight because Canelo, he's shown over the last few fights, he can adapt to so many different styles. And it doesn't matter if the opponent is bigger than him or not. Daniel Jacobs, as I said, he hasn't looked great in his last few fights. Derevchenko, of course, he did look pretty good in, but even then, it was a pretty close fight. But you're going to have to make the favourite Canelo. Now, who do I want to win? To be honest, I'm not too fussed. I'm really not. I like both of these fighters. I'll probably have to kind of go with Daniel Jacobs. I do like him a lot. A lot of it is because of what he's been through, and I do see him as a very, very humble, nice guy, you know, and I always wish him the best, and I always cheer for him, and I always wanted to see him take on Jamal Charlo, and it's almost a shame that fight hasn't happened yet, and I'm not too sure if it's ever really going to happen, because I feel if Daniel Jacobs loses this one, I don't know if he may just hang it up, because he's achieved what he's already wanted to achieve, which is become middleweight world champion. So maybe he might do that, so therefore we may miss out on a Jamal Charlo fight at some point, but hey, listen, you never know. This is boxing. But this is a huge, huge fight, and one that I'm very, very happy with. And hopefully the winner of this will take on Demetrius Andrade for undisputed. I mean, that would be great. Or whoever it is that Andrade is going to be fighting next, face the winner of that fight. That would be great. But of course, let's not forget that Triple G is back on the horizon, and all signs are pointing that he may well be signing with Matchroom Boxing, Eddie Hearn, to be fighting on DAZN, or maybe a co-promotion with him, and of course his own Triple G promotions with Tom Loeffler, and maybe Goldenboy involved in there somewhere as well. Either way, it does look like he's going to be fighting on DAZN, which is of course going to make it a little bit more interesting for maybe an Andrade versus Triple G. But listen, we'll have to wait and see, and the clock is ticking, that's for sure. Andrade needs to get out soon and fight. And of course, we know that Oscar De La Hoya has said that he's all up for a trilogy, a third fight with Triple G and Canelo as well. Of course, he's pretty much overlooking Daniel Jacobs. And that's the issue. You should never really overlook Daniel Jacobs, in my opinion. I think Daniel Jacobs is a fantastic fighter. And when he's in with the right opponent where he's really got to go for it, where he's got maybe a little bit of fear in him, I think that's what brings out the best of him. That's why he performed so good against Triple G, much to the surprise of probably a lot of people. So I do expect it to be a very, very close fight. I don't expect Canelo to stop Daniel Jacobs. Likewise, I don't expect Daniel Jacobs to stop Canelo. But listen, you never know. You never, ever know. You really don't. But I do expect it to be a close decision. And if it is going to be a close fight, I could probably only imagine Canelo's going to nick it. Whether he legitimately wins it or not, I'm pretty sure that the judges will put it on there as well, but hopefully Adelaide Bird won't be part of it. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it all so far. And as the fight gets a little bit closer, of course, I'll do a bit more of a breakdown for you all. And of course, drop your thoughts and opinions below. And remember, if you are going to go there live, go to the description box of this video. And if you want to click on the affiliate link for Box Fan Expo on the morning before of the fight, you can go and meet some of the legends and the present day fighters. Anyway, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.